us for this edition of the Moonbuilders Workshop, today featuring Gelato. We're so lucky to be joined by Hilmar Orth from Gelato. He's co-founder and legendary member of the Gelato Network. If this is your first Moonbuilders Workshop, we want to extend a huge welcome to you. Jimena organizes these each month. We do once or twice a month, and they're technical focused workshops. They're a great place for you to ask questions and learn how to build using tools in the ecosystem. So Hilmar, prior to co-founding Gelato, he previously co-founded a blockchain startup in Berlin in 2017. And that was focused on helping some of the biggest companies in Europe to utilize smart contracts, help them explore new business models, such as decentralized energy trading. Hilmar studied finance during his undergraduate years, and he developed a strong understanding of the current financial industry and why decentralized finance is so important to solve its inefficiencies and to move it forward. Hilmar has extensive experience building and cultivating tech startups, including in his previous jobs, such as Y Combinator startup Superside. And he also participated in the DAO. That's right, the DAO. So the DAO in 2016 that threatened the future of Ethereum. Hilmar is a firm believer in the future of DAOs and the capabilities of them and how they can help communities to collaborate together on a global scale in a more frictionless and cost-effective manner. Now, you may already know about Gelato. So we did a Moonbuilders recap back about a month or two ago, and Hilmar was our special guest for that. And that was an ecosystem-focused discussion. So we focused a little bit on kind of the background and the philosophy and things like that. But this will be a hands-on session, and Hilmar has some terrific content and a very, very cool hands-on demo for you. So just a quick recap of Gelato. Gelato Network is Web3's automation network. It enables developers to automate and to relay arbitrary smart contract executions on and across all EVM supported networks. And that includes Moonbeam and Moonriver. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Hilmar, to go ahead and get started with the demo and all.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin, for the elaborate intro. And hey, everyone, glad to be here today once again in the Moonbeam and Moonriver community. I think you already sort of summed up everything about like what we do in Gelato, and maybe just to sort of like wrap it up again is what you can, or what Gelato is really is this. It is this decentralized network of Gelato nodes that aims to help builders and developers like yourself to just outsource all the heavy and time-consuming tasks that revolve around all the DevOps-related things in your product. Or why did we build it? Right, we actually started building DeFi applications ourselves like 4 or 5 years ago, when there was not much around to do, and all like the basic things like building swaps or interest rate refinancing was still like new primitives, and we quickly realized that like automating these transactions and just like getting them mined reliably and providing a gasless user experience was something which was super tough to build, because you had to build and run all of these infrastructure, all these servers yourself, right? And it's not like you can just like, as you're used to with AWS, just click a button and spin up a server and then it's hosted somewhere and it's all good. You have to always custom build and maintain it and run it. And we did that at the beginning, was such a nightmare. And we thought, okay, we can't really let that be so like developer experience for the rest of the community. And so we decided to like step back from building these end user applications and focus on building this sort of infrastructure piece that wants to provide you with the best developer experience, with the highest reliability, but also with the greatest decentralization. So you can build applications that have a superior UX, like gasless transactions and an automated user experience and protocol operations, without sacrificing any decentralization in the background and permissionlessness and stuff. So this was sort of like the goal that we set out to do. And yeah, there are a lot of parts that are required to make this vision be realized. But yeah, we are already sort of working on it for over 3.5 years now, I think. And yeah, we are making some good progress. And luckily we now are live also on Moonbeam and Moonriver and can support you all as well. So let me share my screen real quick to show you basically a quick demo of the two major products that we offer, which Kevin already mentioned are our smart contract automation hub, which we call Gelato Ops, and then also our Gelato Relay SDK, which is basically like a library that you can use to let Gelato know how you want it to relay your transactions to, for example, offer your users a gasless user experience. By the way, I'm here at docs.gelato network, and here you find out all the cool things people are building with Gelato and what Gelato is, how it works, right? And here, for example, we have a nice section about all the different projects, or just like a small fraction actually of the projects that are using Gelato today. And you might know a couple of these names. You might know MakerDAO, which are using us under the hood to automate like a bunch of the protocol related processes. You might know Connex, that are a bridge that offers people to bridge assets from like Moonbeam to Ethereum, for example, right? They use Gelato Relay, for example, to relay these transactions on Moonbeam or Moonriver. Then, for example, Olympus, probably they are rebasing their algorithmic stablecoin using Gelato's automation infrastructure in the background, and then PancakeSwap for limit orders. And you probably get the picture. So they are like a bunch of really high profile projects relying on this infrastructure today, and more are being added on a daily basis. So super excited to have more of you join the community and help provide us with valuable feedback of how we can improve and stuff. So without further ado, let's just go through an example. So we have this website, and let me just maybe make this a bit larger here. And it's called app.gelato network. And let's say you are a builder, right? And you have a smart contract that you want to automate a function on, right? Maybe there's a function that you want to execute every 2 hours, for example, right? In this case, actually, we have a smart contract here, which is an NFT contract. You probably know what NFTs are. I don't have to explain it to you, but this is a special NFT because it's an ice cream NFT. And what you can do with this ice cream NFT is you can lick it. And I think I'm actually in the wrong contract here. It's probably down here. Here it is, right? And there's a function on this ice cream NFT, which is called the lick function. And you can lick this NFT it has these 3 scoops, and you can lick it. And once you lick it, one of these scoops will be licked away and will disappear. So it's actually dynamic NFT, and this will actually change the sort of SVG code that renders the NFT on chain. So it's a pretty cool function. There's a one catch though, that you can only lick it every 5 minutes, because if you lick it too often, then you get brain freeze and the smart contract stops working and it doesn't want you to lick it anymore, right? So you can of course now stand there and wait every 5 minutes and click the button to lick it, right? Or you can automate it with something like Gelato and let Gelato lick it on your behalf, right? So what we can do here is we can go to app.gelato network. This is like the interface. There's a leaderboard of all the tasks. I'm connected to the Moonbeam network right here, as you can see. And there's like a bunch of tasks people are already creating here. And so I think the easiest one is to just go to the tutorial. So this is the ice cream I've been referring to, right? Let's just mint it real quick. This is what we're going to do. So what is happening now, we are minting this ice cream NFT. So we will own one ourselves, which is nice. And then we can start to lick it right after. We have to wait until the transaction is confirmed. And it was confirmed. We can skip this process. And now we can basically create a task to start automating it, right? So you will be redirected to this interface where you basically in this tutorial actually get prompted the address of the NFT you just minted. And what you can do here is you can just input this address into this input, which is the contract address, right? And this could be any sort of contract address that you want to automate a function on. Now, what we do is we automatically fetch the ABI of that contract behind the scenes from the block explorer of your choice, or that we link in our application. And now we have access to all the different functions that this smart contract has, right? And we saw this lick function that we want to automate, right? So we actually see right here, there's this lick function, and we will select it. Now,
and Hilmar, just one quick question. So You can fetch the ABI, right, if the contract is verified. And then if the contract is not verified, can the users just upload it themselves?
Yes, exactly. So if it's unverified, the app will notice that, and then it will provide you with a small input field where you can then just copy paste your ABI. And for example, it will also automatically detect if you use any of the most common proxy patterns, and then will automatically see if there's an implementation available, and then go to the implementation and fetch these functions. So we try to make it as smart as
That's
possible. Cool. But yeah, so it will fetch. It will enable you to input the ABI. And here, for example, now if you see it, it says switch to custom ABI, and if you click that, you can actually input the ABI yourself. But yeah, in this case, we actually want to use the prefetch API, right? And now our token ID of our NFT that we want to lick is 17, right? This is actually the value we want to input to the function that Gelato should automate. If you, for example, have another function, let's say, and this function needs to, I don't know, get the current price of a Uniswap USDC ETH pair, for example, inputted to its function at execution time, right? You can actually click on dynamic inputs via resolver. And if you have another smart contract deployed, which returns that price, then Gelato will actually take the return values from that contract and use it for the execution. So you can dynamically generate the inputs to that function, right? So this is like a more advanced use case. But for this one, we keep it simple, and we just like hard code the inputs to that function to be 17. Now we have to define when we want to execute that task, right? So, and we want to execute this task every 5 minutes, right? And then it sort of shows you here when these 5 minutes will be. You can also just click on whenever possible. This would actually also work in this case. And what does whenever possible mean? It means whenever the function does not revert. So if the function goes through, then please set the transaction. If the function does not go through, please wait a bit, right? So both would actually work because there's a require in the function that we just saw, right? But let's keep it simple for now. Let's just say every 5 minutes call it. You can actually also have custom conditions here, right? You can write again like a resolver smart contract, which basically returns true when Gelato should execute something. And this is pretty cool because you can check arbitrary conditions on chain and make a complete like custom sort of logic to determine if something should be executed, like, hey, if the gas price is below X and the price above Y and the interest rate below Z, right? So you can go as crazy as you want. Now, of course, transaction costs money, as you know, and so what we have to do is we have to deposit some tokens here into Gelato, and they will actually be used to pay for the transactions that Gelato will automate for us, right? So right now, actually, there's no sort of charge on top. So if your transaction costs you, let's say, 10 cents or a cent, then you will only be charged that amount, right? So right now, this system is free of charge because it's still being bootstrapped by us. But eventually, there will basically be a small fee on top of these transactions that will be charged to compensate these node operators that are running and incurring all the costs of basically checking the conditions and executing your smart contract function. So this is then also sort of how Gelato is a revenue generating protocol, because you can as a node operator make money by just executing a lot of tasks, right? So, but for the individual, it's actually much cheaper than running their own infrastructure. So this is the whole point of it. Now you can name your task like my ice cream on Moonbeam, please, right? And then now what you can do is you can click on create task. Now we actually call a function on the Gelato smart contract that will define and sort of enshrine all of these details on chain. We will hash it. It's actually quite gas efficient. We will sign a message, which will basically label this, like give this task this name without us having to like store it on chain or something. We just sign it, right? And now basically we have to wait for the transaction to get mined. And if so, we should be in a moment be redirected to a specific task page, which shows all the details of the task that we just created. And then here we saw it, there was a bit of confetti, nice. And actually here we see this NFT, because for the tutorial we're actually displaying, so like the NFT here that you can see. And then we say, hey, the interval is every 5 minutes. I've got $0.5 in here to pay for the transactions. And then soon we should see the first executions coming in here. And yeah, and once like the task is live for a bit of time, we actually see also logs here. So you sort of see what these Gelato nodes see. So if the Gelato nodes see, hey, this function can't be executed because there are some problems, there are some conditions that are not met, right? Then you actually see them here and you can debug them live, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so this is sort of like how it goes. And of course now there's sort of like the small time lag. But so what I would say is we just go back, and by the way, you can click back here, and now it will show up in my task. So now you got this my task overview here. You see how much you paid for the task, and you can click again here and see all the details. And now let's say in 5 minutes we should execute it for the first time. So let's just leave it here for now. And what I can do in the meantime is actually show you our sort of second product, right? So this is like the first service that the Gelato network offers you, right? You can automate functions in a decentralized way, but there's also another use case, which is, hey, you can actually build applications that don't require. So if you watch closely, when I create these tasks, I always, there's the first transactions. Let me just have a look, and here you can see a transaction was sent, right? And look here, the lick on the NFT contract was incremented, and one of the scoops disappeared. There were 3 before, right? And you can actually see, go here, and then you can see that Gelato executed this transaction, and you can see with what sort of gas prices and the data and stuff like that. So it shows you very nicely in one overview. You can actually also set up alerts that you get Telegram notifications when this happens, or Discord notifications, or monitoring when your balance runs low, right? So there's this whole end-to-end system in place to make it as reliable as possible for you. And this will now lick forever, right? As long as there's money in here, it will just like keep on licking. Now, going back to, so this sort of like concludes the automation part. Now going to the relay part, right? So let's say you are, this is actually one of the, this is actually one of the things we had at the ECC conference that happened like a week ago in Paris. This is sort of like what we did there. We did like a small raffle where you can mint, again, like new, like a bit better designed ice cream NFTs that look like that, right? And what you could do is you can mint NFTs, and then you can win, like these NFTs actually dynamically changed, and then you can win them if you get like the golden one, right? And what of course the problem is that, let's say you're at the conference and you want people to participate in this raffle that you just built, right? However, like what is the chance that the people that come to your booth have a wallet there with your network token on the chain that you are deployed on, right? What's the chance? There might be a couple of like Moonbeam maximalists or like Ethereum maximalists that have actually the wallet with some ETH or whatever ready, right? But the chances are usually pretty slim, right? So what do you want to do to sort of maximize still the people participating in the application and reduce the barriers to entry here? You want to enable them to access your applications with gasless transactions, right? And what are gasless transactions? Gasless transactions are basically, I can let users interact with my application, which is in this case minting ice cream NFTs. Let me just switch my account because I actually also already used this one for this. Cool. And so this application is basically enabling you to mint NFTs. And I want to enable everyone to access this without having to have this native asset, right? And so how does it work? I can, instead of asking them to send a transaction and paying for the gas themselves, let me just make this a bit bigger. I can let them click mint now for free, right? And then as you can see here, let me just put it up here and maybe make it a bit larger for you to see, right? This doesn't say, hey, please confirm the transaction, and this is the gas price that you will use, etc., right? This is basically just asking you to sign a certain message, right? What is signing? What does it mean, basically? This means that you are using your MetaMask account, your private key here, to sign your willingness to mint this NFT, right? So you basically signal to the smart contract that, hey, my account here, I want to have this NFT, and you can imagine it being like a string, which is, I want this NFT, please mint it for me, and then you sort of like sign it with your signature underneath and give it to Gelato, and Gelato will take that signature, this sort of message that you just signed, and it will send a transaction to a specific contract that is defined in this user interface, and then we'll get that transaction mined and actually the NFT minted into your wallet. So you can sign this, and now you see that something is happening here, an NFT is being minted, and what basically is going on right now is that I signed this message. This message was sent by an API request to the Gelato network, and then Gelato, all the nodes in Gelato see that one of them is sending the transaction for you with the signed message, and this NFT will be minted on my behalf here in just a moment. And yeah, then I basically participated in this application. I was onboarded to this application without actually having to ask my users to go through this whole onboarding process of getting the network token. In this case, we are on the Polygon network here, getting this whole onboarding thing going. And in the meantime here, what we can do is we can check out the docs here. This is sort of the Gelato Relay SDK section that we have in the docs, and you could sort of like see this as an overview here, how it works, the user and the sort of like front end, right? This is where the user signs this message, and rather than sending a transaction to the blockchain right away or to the miners, which is the usual flow, what you do is you send a transaction, and via this SDK that we built, you send this actually to the Gelato executors, to the nodes of the Gelato network, and they will send and pay for the gas on your behalf. And who pays for the gas? Who pays Gelato, right? In this case, like there are multiple ways of handling this. In this case, the sort of user interface actually paid for it. And probably there might be some sort of, maybe the request wasn't sent because I waited too long. But yeah, so here the user interface, which is built by us, we are actually paying for these transactions for the users. And yeah, so you can check that out. We have this nice npm library that you can just like yarn install or npm install, and then we have a bunch of sort of like a code for you that you can copy paste. There are various different payment types that you can use, and one cool thing that might be worth mentioning is that we are about to release like a new update here, which is what we call the one balance system. And the one balance system is actually pretty cool. So let's imagine you're building an application, and that application is interfacing with not only Moonbeam, but it's interfacing with Moonriver, it is interfacing with Ethereum, it is interfacing with whatever other chain you want, right? And you want to offer gasless transactions, or you want to offer and automate your smart contracts, but on all these different chains, right? Because you want to have this sort of multi-chain application. What you can do with a one balance system is you can just have the money or the deposits, like let's say you can have ETH on Ethereum, and with that balance that you basically have in an escrow contract in a Gelato escrow contract on Ethereum, you can pay for all transactions on all different networks with just a single balance on a single chain. So yeah, you can have your user interface with everything on any sort of chain that you want, and you only need to care about the balance on one. I think there's some issues right now with this with the thing, but that's always the live demo effect that you have. But yeah, so this is, I think, sort of like rounds our offerings up. We actually have also pretty cool things coming up in the near future. Maybe I can talk about that later, but yeah, that sort of concludes the demo.
Thanks, Hilmar. I had a question I was going to ask you about your multi-chain vision and your future, and you've already displayed like how you're already thinking as the multi-chain future by having a single gas tank and then being able to pay for transactions across any different network. That is so cool, and I'm sure will provide a seamless experience for users, which is quite important. So yeah, let's talk about what's next. If you have some thoughts or ideas about what you're building and working on, and what's next for Gelato.
Yeah. So what is Gelato really doing, right? So Gelato is just enabling developers to outsource all of their like off-chain server logic that they usually have to run centrally by themselves to Gelato's decentralized network, so all the properties of the applications, the important ones like censorship resistance and reliability, right, and always being up, are guaranteed even for smart contract based applications, right? So we want to enable developers to offer the same performance and sophistication of Web2 applications in a Web3 context without sacrificing any of the benefits that they usually enjoy in a Web3 world, right? I also call them like serverless applications, literally just like clicking button, deploying the stuff, and just runs forever, right? As long as there's some money in this gas tank that we build, it will run forever and nothing can ever stop it, right? I think this is a very powerful primitive. And one thing that was like that is always requested by users from us that we are now that we are working on for quite some time already, and hopefully will soon also share some details about, is we offer like automating smart contracts, right? Then we're offering relaying gasless transactions via Gelato's infrastructure. But soon, what a lot of projects want is they have a bunch of like server-side logic. They have a bunch of logic that requires them to call APIs, that requires them to call any sort of logic and get data that is not available on like a Moonbeam or not available on like an Ethereum, that might be price data from Coinbase, that might be just the like event data from the graph, right? So something that is just hard to store and consume from on-chain, right? So basically off-chain data and logic. And what we are now working on and soon hopefully releasing is a very novel way of how developers can execute transactions and automate transactions based on arbitrary off-chain conditions, data, and logic. Basically, so like a generalized system that acts similar to like an Oracle, but combined with sort of like this automation mindset that we have in mind. And this will be super powerful because like developers can literally just like go completely crazy. You can build fully on-chain games where all the logic that you usually have off-chain, that like most logic of all games are still off-chain, right? But you can have that be like open, transparent, also permissionless and viewable by anyone with the system that we are building, which combines basically Gelato, then Ethereum, IPFS, and some other cool toolkits to basically build like a framework where you can do that. And yeah, so this is something which we think sort of combines like the three most important pillars of like Web3 DevOps, Web3 server side logic that you want to outsource as a project to remain decentralized. And yeah, this is what we are working on a lot with, of course, a bunch of other things, cool libraries and ideas for our relay system where you can literally build gasless applications without having to change any smart contract code. Right now, you would have to adapt to a couple of standards like meta transaction standards and make your smart contracts compatible with them. But we're working on a system that actually gets rid of that necessity, where you can just use your existing system and make them gasless from tomorrow on, right? Sort of like account abstraction hacked into protocols without the protocols actually having to implement it themselves. So these are some alpha drops here, but yeah, these will come at some point.
That's amazing to hear. To simplify, the experience of adding gasless transactions, and without having to like change code and make a bunch of changes, that is absolutely huge. And speaking about multi-chain, I mean, you spoke about getting off-chain data. So I have a similar related question. Would it be possible to also, let's say, fetch data from, let's say, the Ethereum network and then trigger a transaction on Moonbeam or Moonriver?
Yeah, totally. So basically, this framework allows you to fetch arbitrary data sources from anywhere. It could be data that you got via the graph that indexes Ethereum's state, or event data. It could be just reading Ethereum state right now and then executing a transaction Moonbeam based on that. It could be a centralized API, right? It could be anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. There could absolutely be oracles, that are available on Ethereum and maybe aren't yet available on Moonbeam or Moonriver, or there may be certain pieces of data, and we're very focused on the future being multi-chain and cross-chain, and so we want to make it as easy as possible for users to access data across any different chain. And it seems like Gelato has that same vision, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
Roberto has a question. So he's asking, is there going to be a second part of Moonbuilders Academy? So Moonbuilders Academy is this a course that we have that starts with Moonbeam, but then we also have ecosystem teams and things like that. So we'd love for Gelato to be a part of that if you're interested in participating. And there can be like lessons and pieces and components broken down. I'm also I wanted to share that I'm working on a piece for the Moonbeam doc site. So very similar, to the tutorial of the ice cream contract, and we'll make sure that we have you added all there so that users who are looking for tutorials on the Moonbeam doc site will also link, of course, to the Gelato doc site as well.
Awesome.
And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask a question in the Ask a Question box. You can also just put a message in the chat box, and yeah, just let us know. I also want to point out that we'll have this available for replay on YouTube, and the replay will also be available here on Crowdcast. Hilmar, this has been a super, super fun session. One of the most enjoyable ones we've had in a long time. Here we have a question from Sankara. Sankara asks, can you let us know about the security of these products, mainly on multi-chain bridges? So I'm not sure if this is directly for Gelato, but it could be, an interesting.
Yeah. I think, yeah, so I think just maybe what I can answer is so like the security of Gelato, and then of course like security of, let's say a bridge that uses Gelato in the background, sort of like depends on the bridge and the implementation, and what we only guarantee is like the reliable execution of what they sort of like ask for Gelato, right? And let's take, for example, let's take Connex as an example. This is one of the most well-known bridges that also bridges to Moonbeam, for example. And how their system works is actually that let's say you want to bridge Ethereum over to Moonbeam. What you have to do is you have to like lock Ethereum up on Moonbeam, and then lock Ethereum up on Ethereum, and then claim your Ethereum on the Moonbeam network so it will be sent to your wallet, right? So it's like a 2-transaction process. And so how does it work in the background here, and why is it secure? Basically, and there are like 2 transactions in the middle that are done by Connex to make this whole process work nicely. But how this works is that you send a transaction here to deposit your funds, and then what you do is you sign a message. Basically, you sign basically that, hey Gelato, can you please claim my funds on my behalf on the Moonbeam network, so I don't have to switch networks now, get some Moonbeam tokens, and then claim my Ether, right? So you can just send it to my wallet without me having to pay for the transaction, right? So you sign that, and that signature basically is a cryptographic proof that you want Gelato to execute that transaction, right? And claim these funds on your behalf. And then this signed message, Gelato will use and send a transaction which contains some data, which then gets routed to a smart contract on Moonbeam, which then validates the signature. Basically, there's like an egg recover mechanism in Solidity that basically decodes that signature, and it will check, okay, did this person that wanted to bridge these funds, did they actually sign this message that will allow Gelato to claim their funds on their behalf? And then this smart contract validates that signature and then says, yeah, that's correct, they actually did, or it says, no, they did not, but there's no point in actually sending the transaction, right? So yes, they did, and then they will let Gelato claim the funds on your behalf. So it's all exactly the same security as if you would send it yourself, because you basically signed it, and that signature is validated and verified on chain. So it is basically the same security.
That's great to hear. And for the Connex bridge, it's easy to forget sometimes that second step, right? The claiming. And so the fact that that's automated by Gelato is great to hear and massively simplifies, the bridging experience. Yeah. So one more question just came in. And the question is, can I use Gelato for arbitrage trading on chain?
You can use Gelato for anything you want, right? There are a lot of weird use cases that people are using Gelato. It's a complete permissionless system, right? Like no one can tell you what to use it for or not. Arbitrage, I think it's sort of like an interesting example because it's sort of like short answer, yes, you can. Long answer is it might be hard to compete against other arbitrageurs, right? Because other arbitrageurs, they might run their own sort of very highly customized infrastructure that is only set out to arbitrage this sort of opportunity, right? And they might have like very advanced gas price auction mechanisms and logic in place where they try to get mined as fast as possible, where Gelato's mod is sort of like, hey, generalized infrastructure that is not there or not meant to, as of now at least, like compete like with crazy, like we always try to get you transactions mined fast but very cost effectively, right? So like try to find a balance there. And so yes, you can definitely try it, and there are a lot of people trying it and doing it, but it depends on how many people are competing against you for that arbitrage opportunity, if you actually get successful or not. But I guess this is always a question if you use Gelato or if you do it yourself or whatever. I would definitely, if you find like opportunities that no one else is arbitraging, then yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hilmar. I think that's all the questions that we have. Did I miss any? Did I miss any questions? Cool. Well, be sure to check this out. So for anybody watching, right, go to gelato.network, go to docs.gelato.network, try out this ice cream contract. It's very fun. It's very quick. It doesn't take that long to set up. It's very, very easy. And if anybody, doesn't have any Moonbeam or Moon River tokens, or you need to get some, you can absolutely, bridge some funds over. You can make a gasless swap, and then you can go ahead and get started with this. So thank you so much, Hilmar, for joining us. This has been a very fun and enjoyable session, and always fun talking to you and learning more about Gelato, about the new features that you have upcoming. And also, you always have an intense focus on decentralization. And so that's always very interesting to hear. And also to hear about the multi-chain strategy of being able to be on any different network, being able to have a single unified gas fund, where you can have these relay transactions across many different networks, and being able to query off-chain data. So this was, there's a ton of alpha in this Moonbuilders workshop. So, so we'll post this on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us, Hilmar. Hope to see you again soon.
Likewise. Yeah. See you soon. Bye,
Cheers.
everyone.